However, the cancer returned a few years later.
I'm Chris Coraggio, NBC News Radio.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
Good evening. Welcome to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website and nbrradio.us. We got to bless the show before we get started. Let's go. When I was in my mother's womb, I had a calling on my life to do something in the glory of God and marry it like a wife. Commit myself to his word and never be led astray. And when it's all over, when he comes, I'll be glad to see that day in the morning time.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmago. Calmago is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calmago decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Calmago.com to learn how you can get Calmago through the VA or with a special veterans discount code. Some of us
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh,
too,
man,
bro.
that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. You know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org. You're listening to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM in the Inland Empire. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website, NBR Radio, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, Google Play, Blog Talk Radio, iHeartRadio, Podcast, Stitcher, Amazon Radio, just to list a few. Oh yeah, and the streaming videos are located at Tiki Live or Rumble under the Farron Dozier Show. Catch us live or catch us on the archives at Farron Dozier Show. Shout us out, what's the count? Visit farrond.com for more information. All right, good evening. Welcome to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio 106.5 FM and 1050 AM. Also streaming from the MBR Radio Network. So again, thank you for listening in. If you're in your car, you're in an Empire, and you listen to 106.5 FM and 1050 AM, and you got to get out of your vehicle, go to kcaaradio.com, click listen live or watch live, and you can catch us streaming from the website there as well. All right, so minority mental health today. We're continuing this conversation. Shout out to Alan Emmanuel, who is not going to be here this evening. Also, Mr. Jackson called off. He's not going to be available tonight. But the show goes on, right? We will still continue to have this conversation. I can handle it. I can hold it down. I'll make sure I don't say nothing out of context or anything like that. But it's important as we have these conversations. You know, last episode was around us because we were Black men, of course. So we held that conversation down. I still just believe that this is a human being kind of conversation, although we label it with different races and nationalities. So tonight, I have two friends of mine, fellow veterans of mine, and they are of Latin descent. And so they will be here tonight to share their perspectives and their growing up around mental health and what that means to them in their environment, right? And so we're going to give you multiple different looks around minority health as we bring this conversation forward for the month of July. And with no further ado, let's just get right into it. What's happening?
What's up? How's it going, brother?
How you be?
Oh, man. God is good.
God is good, man. Thank you for hanging out tonight.
Appreciate you having me.
Appreciate you. Do me a favor. Do a quick introduction. Give them a little bit of background, and then we'll bring up our next guest.
Sure. My name is Jimmy G. Perez. I'm an Army veteran, 12 years. You know, I'm a family man, and I also am a children's book author on Amazon.
Congratulations with that too, man.
Thank you.
For the listeners and the people that are watching, give them your Latin descent background.
Sure. I'm proud about it. I'm a firstborn generational here in our country, and my parents come from two different cultural Latin descent backgrounds, from Mexico and El Salvador, and there's a sprinkle of other Latin genes, but other than that, it's just Mexico and El Salvador. They came to the States, they worked here, and they met here, and I'm here.
And here you are.
Sure.
All right, cool. Let's bring up Lou. What's up, baby?
What's up, my brother?
Lou?
How's it?
You,
just here.
Hey, man, how you be?
Hiding.
You're not strangers to the show here, but introduce yourself and share a little bit of background.
So my name is Luis Serrano. I go by OG Anger Mexican, but it's an oxymoron because you only get the Anger Mexican if you treat me that way. I grew up in the suburbs of LA, was involved in the gang life, and I went to the Marine Corps, did 4 years as an infantryman, and then I went to the Army to work in the medical side. So I was there for about 6.5 years. I got out due to injury, and then I started working as a network engineer and did a few other things after that. But I'm here in Vegas now. I'm retired and just enjoying life, raising my kids, being a present father.
Beautiful. I like that. Present father, man. I was having some conversations earlier, man, and what it is to be a dad or a father these days, man, is a role, right? Like that's a role that we take on. And sometimes we got to find out what that role looks like for us. And I tell people that your children will help you design that role too. If you are present and pay attention, right? They'll tell you what they need to be taken care of. So that's the beauty of it. But sometimes, you know, depending on how we grow up, and how our father was or wasn't, we have that kind of drive, right? And I use the example of we want to be a provider because our dad was a provider, and we feel like we got to provide, but our time is most valuable at home with our children, man, and we sometimes don't see that. And so I appreciate the present father statement you made. I like. And your parents' background, your Latin
Um,
descent.
so my grandparents are from a place called Bolaños, Jalisco. My father was born here in LA, but raised in Tijuana, Mexico. My mother was raised or born in León, Guanajuato, and she was raised in Mexicali. Then she migrated here when she was 15. So I'm technically a first and a second generation American. I
Cool,
still,
cool.
ethnically identify as Mexican, but by nationality, I'm an American.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Jimmy, there's a myth or a weird conversation in the world about the Mexican community and the Salvadoran. Like they don't really get along. I thought. Is that true, or is that like a myth?
That's an accurate statement. Um, that's an accurate statement, and I'm glad that you said that. I wouldn't have even mentioned it, but that's actually kudos to you for knowing that. It actually, I'm sure many know, but it stems from way back in history, but they can also attribute it to how the migration is in continent wise, like Central America. Immigrants have to migrate through Mexico, for the most part, and then to the U.S. And that's
Uh,
and they can attribute to that as well. That tension between that migration is not an easy road or journey, right?
right.
And then they have to go through the Mexican borders as well. So that's not even an easy transition because uh, that's how it is with the migration and the difficulties behind it and the dangers as well. But then there's also history with war and um, uh, gangs and all that. And behind all that, there's a lot of victims involved, and there's also that tension behind that. And the cultural
Yeah.
difference is it's big because Central America is tropical and
Mhm.
Mexico is not so much. So there's a bit of difference in food, a lot of difference in food,
Mhm.
and even
Yeah.
the language. There is some language barriers with wording. Different
Yeah.
words mean different things and
For
people
sure.
and everything. So
Yeah. Yeah,
Hey,
I've heard that because I love the culture, right? And so sometimes people get offended when you don't identify them properly. That's why I kind of didn't want to say. I wanted you two gentlemen to speak
oh yeah,
from what
yeah.
your backgrounds. Go ahead, Lou.
I'm a big fan of curtido and what are they called? I
Pu-
lost
pu-
it. The
Pupusas?
pupusas. There we go.
Yeah.
Pupusas. Yeah, we used to eat
Yeah.
those.
I'm a big fan of them. So for me, from my perspective, when you talk about differences between the ethnics, cultures of Mexican and South Americans, I look at two things. I look at what the media puts out, to us,
Exactly.
and a lot of us buy into the media biases and propaganda. For me, I used to have those. I used to look at that lens. I discriminated against other Hispanic cultures. Like I used to get into a fight with a lot of the Puerto Ricans, and
Hmm.
like when I went to the Marine Corps, I wanted to be friends with everybody, and unfortunately, I would get into a fight with the Cubans and the Puerto Ricans. It didn't make sense to me. Salvadorians I never really had a problem with. Outside of the gang culture was the MS-13 versus the Sureños. I don't know what the gang culture is like now because I haven't been in that in over 30 years. So,
Yeah.
but a lot of it comes just from the environment that you grew up in, the way people treat each other, and then of course there are gangs that are involved in it, gang culture.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, with tonight's topic, this whole mental health, for me, this whole minority health, and the labels that we give it, right? For me, that label mental health, you have to be able to peel that layer off, right? Because it means so many different things to different people. There's so many different layers to mental health. as a conversation. Jimmy, for you, when you think of just mental health alone, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Well, I look inward first and foremost. So it's a long journey. It's a trajectory of my path in my life, and from before the military, during the military, even right when I was joining in, and during the military, and then after the military, and then that transition afterwards of years of healing as well. So it's been 12 years for me ever since I got out, and there's like layers, like you said, like peeling an onion. So it starts from the beginning, from before I was in the military. I'm a firstborn, so that means I'm the elder brother, you know. So I had to like take up some responsibilities when it was needed, and I had to grow up fast. So my maturity level was a little higher than my age range. So and then you know, like with that said, and I can probably dive a little deeper that yeah, my parents got hurt on a job. I so on both different time frames. So I needed to pick up the slack, and I needed to, and I was 18, so I needed to do two jobs, go to college for years, for about good 5, 6 years. I was hustling. I was doing what I can, and then I said, you know what, this is like not healthy for me. I'm deteriorating, for the lack of a better word, you know. And so I said, you know what, let me, and I feel like I can do more in life. So, and at the same time, take care of my folks, my family. So I joined uh, the military, joined the Army, National Guard, and I felt like that was going to make me flexible for my family and join the service. So when I joined, I got lucky. I told even the recruiter when he told me he started trying to recruit me, but I was coming to his office.
You was already you was all ready to go.
Yeah, I was telling him, well, you know, he was trying to give me the good lip service, but I was like, tell him, like, with all due respect, sir, could you just save me the BS and just get me in? And and, and he was shocked. I'm like, okay, and he just got me through, and that's sure enough, he got me through. He's a good guy. His name was Kevin, I think I remember. But anyways, he got me through, and then once I got in there, I was 24 when I joined. So at boot camp, basic training, they were calling me grandpa.
Oh, because you were older, yeah. Because they're usually between 17 and 19 years old, yeah. So you were older.
Yeah,
You
much older.
got in.
Yeah, so I had that maturity that when I was able to go through with it, no problem. Flying colors. Going into the service, I got hired almost right away as a technician. So I became a full-time National Guard tech there, and I was thankful for that. I was able to provide more to the family and help them as well. And then that led precedence to my maturity level through and through in the military, the 12 years in there. And then I joined a year before 9/11. So once 9/11 hit, you know, you called me. I think you called me to stand by, you know, and that's basically what was happening. So I you know, you even I as soon as you called me, I went to the office, or someone, maybe my platoon sergeant. I can't remember who exactly, to be honest with you. But I know that once I got in there, I went to your office, and I wanted to be on the first ones to be called. You know, you were looking at me kind of funny. I was like, no, they get me in. You know, I was gung ho, man. I was like, you know, barely fresh from basic. You know, I was fresh. So and
good times, the good times.
The good times. And fast forward to Operation Iraqi Freedom. Once I was deployed, finally, I experienced a few moments in my life there, a few stories. I I required surgery, and it was a health scare as well.
Mm.
And thankfully for a soldier that was there with me, I, I I survived because I wouldn't have been able to. I had
Yeah.
over a, I had over 100 stones in my gallbladder, and it tore the bag, so the vial liquid spread it. My eyes went
Wow.
yellow, and
Yeah.
and we were running on a running track around inside the base, and it was outdoors, so I would have been there, you know, unalive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and then to the so fast forward and getting out of the service. And the reason why I got out of the service after 12 years is because my wife and I suffered a loss of a baby, stillborn baby girl, 5 months,
Yeah.
and and that's why I got out of the service. And from barely coming back from Iraq to the loss, and then transitioning out of the service, all in like
Yeah.
8 months,
All
all
of
in like
that. Yeah,
in
that
less
was a
than a year.
lot.
That's
That
a
was a
big
lot.
impact for me.
Yeah.
And not to mention that my wife couldn't understand my level of suffering, right? So
Mm.
nobody, I'm not even going to say just my wife, but nobody really, in my
Yeah.
circles, in my families and friends and around me, near my,
Wow.
near me. So I had to shove a lot of things in the back of my mind, shove it down my
Mm.
gut, wherever I had to put it
Yeah.
away, so I can kind of be resourceful. Don't go homeless with my family. Don't let's get through this. Let's go to get those jobs again. Find find different types of employment. And it was hard. And then go to
Yeah.
school, filing the paperwork on time so you don't go uh, back
Yeah.
month of bills. So
Yeah.
so I was more worried about the bills than going to school, and the school was providing me support for the bills, but I wasn't focusing on the GPA because I
Mm.
was too focused on the bills. So it
Mhm.
was a little hard for me to kind of focus, and not to mention all the other stuff that I was putting,
That you were
away.
suppressing. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that you were suppressing.
exactly. So I found a way to, um, if I was in a dark place during that time too, because I was suppressing so much that I felt I was talking to myself. Maybe if I end it here, I can they can cover my life insurance, and they'll be all right.
Wow.
You know, I
Wow.
I was talking. There was a lot of self talk about that. I was trying to
Yeah.
convince myself to a point
Sure.
that it almost happened. I got a knife, and almost I was I was really close to ending it, and I called the VA. I called the VA, and then I called after a year. Uh, After a year after the service, when that happened, then it scared me. It scared
Mm.
me because
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm a faith going person, and it was contradicting everything that I was believing. You
Mm.
know, so I had to stop. I felt like my little angel probably stopped me and to
Yeah.
call someone. So I called the VA, and I was in bed also when I was calling the VA as well because I needed to lay down after that event for me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just needed to lay down, and then I called, and then it took me a long time to get through the VA to get a call for appointment, mental health appointment. So once I made that appointment, I I didn't wake up on time. I missed the appointment, so I made another call
Mm.
another day, and then I made that appointment again, and then it was hard for me to get up from bed a lot of times. So finally, I got up from bed. Okay, and then it was hard for me to get out the door.
Yeah.
Finally, I got out the door. It was hard for me to get in the car. Finally, I
Wow.
got in the car, and I'm cutting it short, but this took
Yeah.
weeks. It took months. So finally, I got in the car. Then I went, and it takes me an hour to get to the. It takes me a long time to anyways to get to to the hospital. So once I got there, I stormed out because of a jerk off that was there in the front office, or an a-hole or jerk off. He
Yeah.
was in the, he didn't know better. He didn't learn. He doesn't know manners or didn't know empathy. Maybe it was a bad day for him. But either
Yeah.
way, I stormed off. I mean, I got escorted one time because that was happening regularly. Because I
Wow.
wasn't taking jerk offs. I wasn't
Yeah.
taking. I wasn't taking that ticket
Yeah.
anymore. I wasn't taking
Yeah.
that. So I was like, okay, I'm done. But to me, that was all. That to me, inside internally, that was already a win because I got there.
Right. You got there.
So of course I canceled. I stormed off. It didn't cancel. It got canceled, right? So, and then I returned, and then I finally met someone. But that wasn't the happy ending because that someone wasn't for me. That doctor wasn't for me. So I had to find another doctor. So it's a journey, you see. And for me, I just had to keep on chipping away. And one time I sat down in the mental health. I had to sit down in the lobby waiting for my appointment because I got there an hour earlier because of traffic. And it was earlier in the morning. And, traffic in the morning. And so I was sitting there in the lobby when there was benches and sofas there. I saw the baby grand piano there, and it says "Do not touch." and then, but it was playing on its own, right?
Yeah.
It was playing on its own. But the fine print says if you want to touch, well, not in those words, but if you want to, volunteer, play the piano, so call this number. So I call this number, and this says you can't just bang, you can't just be playing the piano and not know. We have to audition you. We gotta, I'm like, and here I am. I just want to practice, and that's the straight up. I just want to practice and just mess around with it. And they said, no, you can't do that. So I did. So I learned by ear, picked up a few songs, bought a little keyboard, of course, not in that order, and then I got a few songs from the radio, and then I auditioned. I got through. I got a little temporary card, and I started playing the piano.
I think I remember seeing that.
Yep. And then I started playing for 5 years there at the VA hospital. And in fact, the first day playing there, I had a temporary little card. Someone called the VA police on me because they didn't know who that guy, stranger danger. So they didn't know who that guy was. So,
right.
So I started playing Bruno Mars, different, Janet Jackson, different, genre of music that's on the radio. And I remember a big Marine guy, a huge guy, actually pretty like 6'5" or something, but sizable, and he stopped me because I was playing a Coldplay song, and he told me, I thought he was going to kick me out. You know how we do it. We're blunt about it. We're very blunt about it. So I thought he was going to kick me out, and I was scared. And then he said, no, I want to thank you for doing this. And I could see he was teary-eyed. He was teary-eyed.
Cool. Yeah.
And for me, playing the piano was for me.
Yeah.
It was only for me. I was so tunnel vision that it was just for me. Because it was little by little, it was healing me. Little by little, it was healing. There was some healing factor there. Because I was leaving my emotions on the piano and just like the gym. When you go to the gym, you pump it up, you leave it there, Yeah. And that's how I felt with the piano.
Thank you, man. That is so important. It's so important for people to hear your story that way, because the battle that it takes to get out of bed, to make the phone call. Well, first to have the self-talk, right? I won't tell it in this episode, but I had the same thing, man. Like I had the self-talk. What if I jumped off the roof? What if I did this? What would anybody miss me? Would anybody care? Like you go through that process. But I'm grateful that you was able to get out the door and get into the car and even go past the people at the front desk, man. So thank you for sharing that part of your story. Lou, let's go to you, man. Mental health. What does that mean to you when you hear that?
In my culture, my upbringing, it's a stigma. And the best word that I can use to come up with for that is, and Jimmy might know this one, machismo.
Yeah. 100%.
And it's like you don't let anything like that just stop you, and then also growing up in the hood, it's not something that you let hold you back either, because it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
So for me, after I went into the Marine Corps, one of the first things that happened to me was I was assaulted by a senior Marine, and this guy was just a lot bigger than me. He was like 6'4", about 250 pounds. He played on the football team, and me, I'm 6'2", 180 pounds soaking wet. First few weeks in the fleet, and the guy didn't like that I was singing a song in Spanish, and he told me to shut my mouth, and I was like, I ain't gonna shut my mouth. I'm from freaking LA. I'm gangster. And he's from Newport Beach. So if you look back historically, back in those times, there was a lot of skinheads in Newport Beach, and LA was known for gang culture. So right away, we didn't hit it off.
Yeah.
And this guy, he picked me up by the neck, and he just started slamming my head on the wall. And he tried to do a little bit more than that. And I mean, I seriously thought this guy was going to kill me. I started blacking out, and luckily for me, someone came in to the third floor. You could hear him walking up the stairs. He let me go, and he ran into his room, and I ran into mine. A few weeks later, same thing. I ordered pizza. Pizza got to my room. I figured, the pizza guy left, came back because I forgot something, or he forgot something. And it's this dude. He's like, "Give me your pizza." I was like, "I ain't giving you my pizza." And he's just that much bigger and stronger than me. He throws me in, and he starts assaulting me again. And I'm looking for something to hit him with. And I see a helmet, I see a tent stake, and I'm like, I'm gonna kill this dude right now.
Wow.
I have a room that's connected next to another room with the bathroom, and somebody opens the door to their room. He hears it, he takes off running.
Wow.
At least he didn't get my pizza. But
wow.
I think that was the beginning of what some of us are, call a TBI, traumatic brain injury. And then we started doing line training. There's a move called the sweep and stomp. And you're supposed to catch the Marine by the camis before he hits his head on the floor. And I hit my head multiple times to the point where I nearly blacked out, but never really took anything like that serious. Fast forward to 97, was with Special Ops Training Group in Okinawa. And one of the Marines that I was with, he decided to butt stroke me in the head with a rifle. And I blacked out, came to, and next thing you know, I'm being treated like an EPW. This was an EPW situation. I didn't know it was going to be an EPW. I was just sitting there talking to another Marine, and I kind of I let it go. I figured, okay, training accidents happen.
Yeah.
And then again, I was hit by a pistol in the head. And so here's a history of TBI being established. And what I didn't know was that was also affecting my mental health.
Yeah.
So I had forgotten about the incident where the guy assaulted me and tried to kill me. And then I left the Marine Corps. I went to college, and I could not function. I could not focus. And I was like, you know what? I cannot be out in the civilian world. So I joined the Army. I was like, I don't want to kill people for a living. I want to save people's lives. So I went to the Army, and I was partying with my brother. This was around 2000 or so. And there was 12 dudes that were trying to pick up on some of our female friends that were with us. They were rejected, and when we got outside the club, these guys were talking smack, and we're just like, hey, just go home. We didn't know that there was a bunch of them, and then our female friends didn't tell us anything. So in a sense, it was like they failed to let us know that we're about to be set up, like we're going to get in a real dangerous situation. So
wow,
we got jumped by 12 guys, and one of the guys was in my Army unit. And they took a club to the back of my head and gave me 34 stitches in two different parts. So up here and down here. I didn't report it to the Army because, I come from the hood. I don't snitch.
Right.
But, that started causing more mental health issues. We go to 2004, January 2004. I'm already, technically getting out of the Army. I'm at the end of my obligated service, and I get a call. They tell me, hey, we've been called up. We're going to war. Like, all right, where are we going? They're like, Afghanistan. Let's go. So, I said my goodbyes to my family. You got that 40 hours to mob. And I left, but I told my family, I'm like, I'm going to Germany. I got a scholarship. I didn't tell them anything about being recalled to active duty. And I'm at a funeral when this all happened. So I had to go take my final physical, or pre-deployment physical, and nobody knew. I didn't tell anybody. And I don't know what it was about me telling everybody that I was going to Germany, but not Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And it turns out I get to Fort Lewis and they're like, "You're going to Germany." I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, you're going to backfill the hospital. You're going to basically handle patient casualties." So I was like, "All right, cool. I'm cool with that."
Wow.
So a story that a lieutenant told me, he said, "I want to be like this specific hospital during Desert Storm where they did not lose one patient." And I took that serious. He was a ranger that became a nurse. And, so he and I had a good rapport, being infantrymen, combat arms, going into the medical field. And I took that serious. And for me, I dealt with like 13,000 casualties that year. I mean, and there's a bigger story, we can talk about it later, but
Yeah.
a lot of that did affect my mental health, because one, I didn't get to properly grieve my cousin that had just passed. And then I'm dealing with people calling me and saying, "Hey, how's my loved one?" And I was like, "They're on the plane or they're here." And if they died, I couldn't tell them that they died,
Right.
So now my integrity is getting challenged. And it really hurt for me to not be able to tell these people like, "Hey, your loved one is passed." But it's not my job at the same time.
Yeah, with the protocol for that. Yeah.
So the integrity hurt me, and then I physically got hurt. I was moving furniture up to the fourth floor, and I woke up with a slip disc. So I couldn't walk, and then they started treating me like a scumbag because I couldn't run the APFT. And I was
Right.
just like, what kind of clown world am I in? Like, let me heal, let me go back to, let me heal, get back to 100%, and then I'll be able to function and do my job, get my promotions and whatever it was. And I run into this guy who was prior Navy, who was now in the Army, and he's giving me a hard time. He's a sergeant. I was like, "Dude, if you're a real NCO, you got to lead by example." He's like, "Shut up and push." I was like, "I'm not pushing unless you're pushing." He's all like, "Look, Serrano, you better push. I know where you come from. I was prior Navy. I was FMF." And I'm like, "Really?" I go, "You're FMF?" He says, "Yeah." He says, I was a corpsman." I was like, "Where's your FMF badge?" The Army is really big on flash. If you have a CIB, EIB, anything that differentiates you from everyone else, you wear it.
Right.
And this guy wasn't
Right.
wearing it. I'm like, "Dude, you're full of it." He tried to get me Article 15, and it just didn't work because I didn't disrespect them, but I challenged them.
Right.
So, I kept getting pushed to do PT. I'm injured. I'm still pushing myself, and I get injured again. I tore a ligament in my knee this time because I wasn't allowed to properly heal.
Right.
And I'm getting dogged by the first sergeant because I'm not putting out the effort that I should. For being a Marine in the Army, I should have been stellar.
Right.
And they're dogging me on this, and I'm just like, all you people had to do was let me heal.
Right.
And I could have given you 100%. And that year, I actually saved a kid from drowning. I was volunteering, helping a special needs kid out, and he had a seizure underwater. I picked him up. I had a magnet to restart his heart, so I rubbed it against his heart, and he's like, "Whew, thank you for saving my life." And they made a big deal of it. They're like, "Oh, this is our soldier," and I was like, "Screw you people! You guys are all bragging about me now, but
yeah, now they want to brag about you."
Yeah, and I was like, the whole year, like, I'm getting dogged for being this piece of crap.
Yes.
But in reality, I'm just trying to heal from an injury. So, that took a big toll on my mental health, and then, having the integrity challenge, dealing with combat casualties. I saw 3 of the Marines that I served with directly. One of them was my first roommate, one of my best friends. He came through, he got blown up, and he was barely able to walk. Then he was actually in the same circle. He came in, he almost died in Afghanistan. And then my first sergeant that I was in the MPs with, so I served 6 months as an MP. The Marine Corps has what's called the Fleet Assistant Program. So when you come back from deployment, they want you to reintegrate back into the Corps and not really blow up after that, because we got called out to Thailand to evacuate American citizens, and that took its toll on us too, because it wasn't for me, but like seeing some of the Marines that I had, they were just spazzing out, because they were going to war. And I was just like, shut your mouth. Like, we have a job to do. There's no time to spaz. And then coming back and, like getting off of high alert. And, finally got to the point where, when I was leaving Germany, that first sergeant had gotten relieved. He was a master sergeant now. He's like, hey, what's up, Serrano? He says, you look like you don't like me. And I'm like, I don't. And and my actual first line leader, he's like, shut the up. And he's like, I'll lock your body. And it's like, no. I'm like, he had the chance to let me heal, and he didn't. He's a first sergeant. He's supposed to take care of me, and he didn't.
Right.
And it's like finally letting off a little bit of the pressure that I have, the mental health. So I get to Loma Linda VA after I leave. I go on terminal leave. The day after, I go to VA Loma Linda, and I go and talk to mental health. I'm like, look, I really need some help. Like, I'm struggling. I may have some kind of mental health issue, And then the technician that's screening me, she says, oh, do you think you're omnipotent? And I was like, what? She's all like, yeah, you think you're omnipotent. You can change the world and you're godlike. And I was like, I don't even know what that means.
Wow.
And then I go and see the mental health doctor, and he's a prick too. And he's talking down to me, and I'm like, you're supposed to be helping me, not talking down to me. So I was like, screw the VA. I didn't go back for mental health issues for a good 5 years.
Yeah.
And it was because I started having nightmares. And, a lot of people, they go through these issues where they work. They're so busy that they don't have time to think about their mental health illnesses. But for me, the change came because my shift was changed from night shift to day shift. And now I had time to think. And that really messed me up. So that's where I am with the mental health aspect. And, like Jimmy, it took me years to recover and recuperate. I mean, I could say that 2021 was probably the better years. I found a good counselor at the vet center that took my case, and he started working with me. And it was like, all right, go and take these classes for MST. So I did go for that. I went to like 3 or 4 MST classes. And then I went through the sleep study classes. And, little by little, I started letting my guard down. I was able to function a little bit better. And then there's a lot of other things that come into effect afterwards. It's faith, it's, eating habits, exercise, things of that sort. But, that could be a whole other discussion too.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for sharing that as well. Thank you so much. We're going to play this public service announcement. This is our sponsor, Calm&Go. You've been tuning into the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming at MBR Radio. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook, Twitter. We're all over. Just look for MBR Radio. Also, make sure you get the apps, both of the stations here. So we're streaming on 2 platforms simultaneously. So we got the KCA Radio has an app, and also MBR Radio has an app as well. So make sure you go download those. MBR Radio is a military broadcasting radio network. So those are all military service members or law enforcement, fire department, people who work for the department. There's all different branches of community work over there. And then we have the KCA Radio, which is 150 plus shows Monday through Friday. Monday through Monday, Monday through Sunday, all night long. So just make sure you go to the website and check those out as well. Let's see, we got a comment over here. What is that? Oh, the main guy over there at MBR, it says it's fire. Your conversations were on fire. So we thank you for listening in. We're going to play this PSA and then come right back. The Farron Dozier Show.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calm&Go. Calm&Go is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes, in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Comigo decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Comigo.com to learn how you can get Comigo through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
Muchos de nosotros nos vemos afectados por la enfermedad de células falciformes a diario y un número creciente simplemente no nos damos cuenta. Los impactos de esta enfermedad afectan a todas las personas y en especialmente a las personas de color y con antecedentes diversos. Estar en servicio conmigo y con los demás a medida que creamos una mayor conciencia sobre cómo identificar y dirigir el tratamiento de los rasgos de células falciformes y ayudar a las familias a saber cómo superar el trastorno de células falciformes. WDCONS
Zetovia salve, made from natural and organic ingredients, good for inflammation, poor circulation, hemorrhoids, yeast infection, lip sores, dry coughs, eye pain, minor cuts and bruises, and ready to purchase at botanicaherbalco.com. BOTANICAHERBALCO.com. botanicaherbalco.com.
I just wanna breathe his name, my God. Lift his name up high, dedicate this life, give him all we got. We will testify with our hands out, keep him up in the sky.
I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I made it up out of the city, avoided the hate and the gritty. Me and my little brother, my lovely mother tried to make it easy, but we was some knuckles though. We used to let them knuckles throw. We used to let them chuckles go when we thought about the places we would go. Yeah, lights off. Yeah, no, really. Lights off. Yeah, no money. Lights off. Under the candlelight.
All right, welcome back to the Farron Dozier Show. That's right, you can catch me on Lit Live, formerly known as Dash Radio, Lit Live, Saturdays at 7 p.m., and it airs again at 5 o'clock on Sundays, the Revolution Radio Show. That's the Christian hip-hop talk show. So if you want to be a guest on that platform, you want to talk some spirituality, you're a gospel artist, gospel rap artist, or you just want to talk about, some spiritual talks, you could be a guest on that episode as well. What else? Beyond 2D, that show is on Breakthrough Network show. That's every second and fourth Tuesday. So we just wrapped up episode this past Tuesday. Well, we will not be on this coming I think it's the 23rd of July. We're coming back in August. That second Tuesday in August, which is, I think it's the 13th. Yeah, the 13th. We'll be back on Beyond 2D. On that episode, I get to let loose. I get to share about my journey, what I've been through in life, and hopefully those conversations help someone discover where they are in life. As you've heard, my veteran friends here share their mental health experiences. My Jimmy said it as well. You got to be able to go back, to your past, like your childhood, because a lot of things that we deal with start early on in age, right? And then for me, even joining the military, it just amplified all the stuff that I was dealing with before I joined the military. And then when that was taken away, it provided things that I thought I was missing from my environment, my family, my childhood. It gave it to me. But then when it was taken away, when I got medical retired, my identity was in that camouflage, and all those things that I loved about the military, the camaraderie, was I would say taken away. Then it was like, well, who the heck am I? And then that set off the spiral out of my own mental health situations. But we all have a level of mental toughness. I do believe that, And if we can just revisit those conversations and reach and work out, strengthen those spaces that we're weak, right? Where we need some tough conversations to have. And a lot of times it takes courage to have these kind of conversations. It takes boldness, it takes confidence, because no one wants to be judged by your life experiences, by your past, but people do. People do judge you for that. But on the other side of that, in a safe space that you can find some peace and some understanding and some relatedness. A lot of my shows are around relatedness because we all deal with something. Yes, we're veterans, but everyone is dealing with some type of mental health, some flaw that we have in life. And so we don't mind being the example. we're the 1-2% that serve this country. And so we have that level of confidence and courage to risk our life for this nation. And we have the confidence to share our story too, because we know that it can help somebody. We got a few minutes left. Jimmy, today, what does mental health mean to you today?
You see, and thanks again for having me. It's my first time here, so I'm trying to. So mental health for me today is all about maintenance, and in the military, we call it PMCS, preventive maintenance check service, right? So from the top down, right? Top down, top all the way to your toes, and then you have to. It's like a car, right? We're like vehicles. You got to go get your car checked. If your car is breaking down, you got to go get it checked to like different places. You can't take it all at once in one place. You got to go take every little issue is, oh no, you got to go to rotate your tires at Costco, or oh no, you got to go somewhere else for check your engine, all that. So for us, and sometimes you have to pay more to do something else for yourself. So if we, but you have to make appointments. You have to take action. You have to meet yourself halfway for those maintenance, because you're always gonna run out of fuel. You're not invincible. So you need your maintenance, and that's my definition of mental health now. Because mental health is not a cure and all for just one-stop shop. You have to assess, be aware of what's happening with yourself, and find what can you do one step at a time. But what can you do to take care of that one part of your issue?
Thank you.
And then
Thank you. Thank you. Lou, we got 120 seconds or less. Mental health today, what is that for you, man?
Mental health is peace of mind and clarity. Always have a plan. If you plan to get married, plan to be happy in marriage. If you plan to take care of yourself, if you want to take care of yourself, plan to take care of yourself. That's the only way you can get through it. If you need help, reach out for help.
I appreciate you gentlemen, again, coming on and sharing your experiences and your background. This hopefully the listeners, that people that watch this will understand that we're not different. We're not different. We're human beings first. Right. And we all deal with some, like Jimmy said, you got to deal with that maintenance, man. Might have to go to, mental health. You might have to go to the doctor for some physical pain. You might have to go to the foot doctor, but it takes a level of confidence and courage. And I tell our veteran community, the same courage that you had to fight for this country is the same courage that you need to take care of your own health for yourself. Right. And yes, we want to do it for our families, but also you got to do it for you too first, though. If you're not in a good shape, how's that going to affect your family, your friends, your children? So last words, Jimmy, 20 seconds.
I just appreciate you. There's so much more to talk about, and I'm just thankful that you have me on here. I appreciate you, and you have my support always.
Always, man. Thank you so much. Lou.
If you liked what I said, my name is Luis Serrano. If you did it, my name is Farron Dozier. Much love and respect to everybody. If you need help, go get it. Simplify and hoop.
I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Again, this is the Farron Dozier Show. I'm out of here. FarronD.com for more information if you need to reach out to me. And we'll be back. Shout out to What's the Count.
KCAA.
The Village Mud wants to remind pet owners of the importance of spaying and neutering. Shelters overflow with unwanted pets. Spaying and neutering helps prevent this and has many health benefits too. That message courtesy of the Village Mud at 66.5 East Foothill Boulevard in Claremont. For self-serve pet wash tubs and high-end food and treats for dogs and cats, featuring natural and raw. Call the Village Mud 909-624-3020 and like them on Facebook.